and frontier sectors in which we've highlighted that will increase productivity and also have new investments come in and give emphasis for India's own brand on those things is on the biopharma sector. I think that's going to be a big change in the way in which we are looking at giving capacity for those who are able to research, who are able to undertake research and development. So 10,000 crore initiative again over five years for domestic biologics and biosimilar production. This is a clear message and backed with enough substance that India's lead in the pharmaceutical sector should be kept intact, but at the same time bring in newer ways of helping the pharma sector, and also because it has an impact on human health. Semiconductor mission had two major announcements that will improve the India stack and also the IP related matters. Electronic components manufacturing scheme for 40,000 crores is a major encouragement for electronics to become self-sufficient. We have also announced establishing rare earth corridors so that India can face and be able to meet its own requirements with its materials. So once we identify and are able to explore these minerals and process them, make them available for us, our dependency on external sources for bringing in the rare earths will be lesser. And we've identified the states where we want to establish this rare earth corridors. They are going to be in Orissa, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. So these are very important developments and they are going to have multiple decadal impact on the Indian economy. Our dependence on magnets and rare earths will be brought down. 3 dedicated chemical parks, again for reducing our import dependence. High-tech tool rooms for research, that will be set up in 2 locations. Very important thing is about the construction equipment being imported. That could be for building tunnels or metros or high energy and also heavy duty equipments which we are relying on imports. We want to manufacture them in India, and that is why I said, how does it affect a common man? It affects because firefighters today have novel, new, big ticket and small, very small firefighting tools and weapons or equipments. We don't have them in this country. That's why if there is a fire accident in some very congested area, our equipments are not able to reach those points. Whereas there are equipments which today are produced abroad, which can navigate those small corridors and go save people's lives. Whether they or huge ones, all of which we want to make sure that we will have production in this country itself, whether they are tunnel boring or anything else, from small to big, we want to bring in those very impactful infrastructure into India. So we'll support domestic manufacturing. Then container manufacturing is another which we'll support. I think I've gone in detail talking about the textile support in various forms. One very important announcement was made, Mahatma Gandhi Gram Swaraj initiative, which will make sure khadi, handloom, handicrafts will all be brought in, and one district, one product will all be brought in this initiative, and we'll be able to support rural artisans, rural workers and handloom weavers in those areas. Legacy industrial corridors have got saturated. Manufacturing happening there is now very constricted because they are not able to bring in newer robotics and others. So we want to upgrade these legacy industrial clusters so that they become cost competitive and efficiency comes into these places. Even more important is the champion MSMEs, small and medium industries, entrepreneurs, MSMEs, who are going to be given all the support, and 3-pronged approach is being taken up there. We are giving equity support, we are giving also liquidity support, above all professional support for them, so that MSMEs, the equity support is supported by a 10,000 crore SME fund. growth fund. Above all, we are also topping up the Self-Reliant India Fund with 2,000 crores. So MSMEs should not feel any dearth of resources for equity. Similarly, they shouldn't feel any difficulty for liquidity in their hands, because the TREADS platform will now be treated almost as a security backed up instrument with which they'll be able to discount and get their monies. For professional support, we're working with the Chartered Accountant and Cost Accountant institutes so that they can create corporate mitras who can help these MSMEs in filing their returns, doing their accounts, and so on. Above all, for youth and training, there's so much. You've heard this speech, so I won't want to take your time on it. High-powered education to employment enterprise, standing committees being formed so that they can recommend measures for service sector as a core driver of Vikasit Bharat. Part B concentrated a lot on tax and related concessions that are being offered. More importantly is the process simplification which has been announced. So elaborate measures have been taken. You will be able to also seek clarification if you want. New export opportunities for fishermen who can go into the economic India's zones, high seas, and also assess and access the global markets. The one very touching, and I really was moved by this proposal, is where we have identified 17 drugs or medicines which are going to be basic custom duty exempt, which are important for cancer patients. Similarly, 7 more rare diseases are added to the import exemption list of the import duties. Baggage clearance and personal items which you bring in when you travel are all being given enhanced duty-free allowance. Besides that, there are quite a few direct tax and indirect tax proposals. Decriminalizing the penalty proceedings and support to the IT sector are some of the high points. As an opening remark, I'll conclude here. I'm sure you'll be able to ask questions and seek clarification. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll start this question, taking the questions. First question is 17.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Shishir here from Hindu Business Line. Ma'am, my question is that under the miscellaneous capital receipt, the provision is 80,000 crore rupees. And last year, the provision was 47,000 crore, which has been reduced to 37,000 crore rupees now. Does this mean that there will be more equity monetization this year, or there will be more focus on the asset monetization of CPSEs?
So you've caught it rightly. The intent is that we will have a very strong asset monetization plan in place. Last year, ma'am had announced in the budget that there will be a pipeline prepared, which is being done. So we hope to reap the dividends from that.
238.
Ma'am, Timsi Jaipuria, this side from CNBC TV 18. I just wanted to know the rationale behind the hike in STT in futures and options.
So, first of all, I believe some confusion. In fact, the question that you have asked rightly reflects the announcement itself, that the only change made in STT is in the future and options. All the other STT rates remain the same. The primary objective of raising the tax rates on STT has been that it is felt that when you look at the volume of transactions in futures and options, whether you compare it to the size of GDP or size of the underlying securities market, it is largely in the realm of heavy speculation, which results in losses to small, retail, unsophisticated investors. And the government's intention is to discourage speculative tendencies and the increase in rate is essentially in that direction. So it is meant to essentially handle the systemic risk in derivative markets. Even after this increase, however, the rates of STT will remain modest compared to the volume of the transactions that is happening there. This is the reason.
54.
मैम तरुण शर्मा फ्रॉम जी बिजनेस। मैम आपने पूरा बजट जो है वो न्यू एमर्जिंग सेक्टर पे बड़ा फोकस रखा है। मैम मेरा सवाल आपसे दो हैं यदि आप अलाउ करें। एक मैम आपने जो एक्साइज ड्यूटी का कैलकुलेशन किया है वो पिछले बजट एस्टिमेट से इस बजट एस्टिमेट में तकरीबन 22% की ग्रोथ देखने को मिली है। दूसरा मैम जो आपने एमएसएमई के लिए कहा कि जो ट्रांजैक्शंस होंगे उसके लिए आप एक्सचेंज प्लेटफॉर्म का यूज करना होगा, तो क्या मैम ये सीपीएसईज के लिए कंपलसरी होगा जो डिस्काउंट ट्रेडिंग की जो बात है? थैंक यू।
I'll take the second question, ma'am. So, हाँ, ये CPSEs के लिए मैंडेटरी होगा कि डिस्काउंटिंग एज वेल एज नॉन डिस्काउंटेड बिल्स दोनों को ही ट्रेड्स पे करना होगा ताकि वो 45 दिन में भुगतान एमएसएमई को कर पाएं, और ये हर तरह से चेक कर लिया गया है कि ये हो सकता है। सो वी वांट टू मेक CPSEs as pioneers. We hope, like ma'am has said in her speech also, that other corporates will also follow.
On excise.
Increased by 22%, sir, from last year B to this year.
Because there is from 1st of February, all the tobacco products have come back into excise, and all those revenues will account for the increase of the next year.
209.
Ma'am, Prakash Priyadarshi from ET now. The budget has announced restructuring of PFC and REC. What will this restructuring look like? And does this also mean that these NBFC will be merged going forward?
What is the later part of your question? That these NBFCs are not going to?
Will be merged going forward?
Yeah, I've said we are rationalizing it. You'll get to know as we go forward. We want to streamline it, and therefore we'll be taking some steps. We'll let you know the moment we decide how to go about it.
234.
Hello, ma'am. Harsh Kumar from Business Standard. Ma'am, two questions. One is, you said that a high-level committee will be formed on the banking reforms in order to 2047. Are we going further for any kind of merger or something, since government is continuously saying that we need at least two of the big banks, at least of the top 20 banks. So are we going towards that?
No, first of all, when I say that it's going to be a high-level committee which is going to look into it, the terms of reference will be prepared, and we are looking at committee to go into the entire expanse of the banking sector so that they come up with recommendations which help us to plan for banking for 2047. We need, by the time we become a Vikasit Bharat, 2047 is our goal. We need to understand what are the other steps that we need to take in the banking area, and based on the recommendations, we'll go forward. But we have the Secretary, Department of Financial Services. We'll ask him to also give us, please.
Ma'am, I think you have rightly responded. There are large number of aspects relating to the banking requirement. For example, the credit to the GDP, commercial credit to the GDP ratio low, and the expansion of the banking network, and what kind of procedures currently we have that is impeding both the deposits as well as credit. All those aspects will be looked at by an expert panel, a committee, and well, we will definitely have TOR, and then also consult the all the stakeholders, and the government will take a view on how to lay strong foundation for 2047 Viksit Bharat.
Ma'am, one more question.
229. Left side, yes.
Ma'am, Premanshu from Ananda Bazar Patrika. Ma'am, have you consciously avoided announcing any bonanza for the pole-bound states? And secondly, can you elaborate on this East Coast corridor, industrial corridor you announced?
See, the industrial corridors are very critical for supply chains. We need a predictable mineral, rare earth and magnet related products to be made available for India's manufacturing, whether it's lithium ion, whether it's automobile sector, whether it's the new age solar. You need these rare earths to be processed and be made available. We have enough raw materials. The coastal areas are rich in these minerals. And therefore, states also felt, I must credit that the interaction that I had with the finance ministers pre-budget, many states felt that there are rare earths which they can utilize. We then sat up in the budget group that we have, Revenue Secretary, DFL, Secretary DA, and thrashed out, talking with the states. What are the kind of things that we can do so that their capacities to extract these minerals, process them, make them something which the industry can benefit from. So India can be less dependent on imports of these materials. That is where, having spoken to states, we thought it's very important to recognize the corridor and give a policy for it so that industries can invest, private sector can come in, governments, state and center can come together on it. That is where these corridors were announced. And looking at the success of the defense corridor, I can confidently say these rare earth corridors will make that big a difference to the Indian economy. The first question, I think there's enough to cover all the election states. If I do, you will ask me, why have you done it only for the election states? Now I've done it for election and non-election states as well. You want me to spell out what has been done only for the election states? I'm quite happy to do it.